Hi, anyone and everyone. This is Kim, the Humble Hermit from Come As You Are Oracle. I'm going to do the collective for today. Today is Wednesday, February 25th, 2026. Why did I want to say April? You may follow me on the Talk the Tube, my blog, or not. Totally up to you. Take what resonates, leave what doesn't. If it doesn't fit, don't make it fit. If some of it fits, God's kiss. We love that for you. Whatever doesn't, leave it on the table for someone else. We don't want you taking on energy that wasn't meant for you. We're going to use the Kipper deck. I just got mine off of Amazon. I think it was like $15, something like that. 15, 20, I can't remember. Hopefully everybody's enjoying their hump day. I nominated my friend for Employee of the Month, and she texted me and told me she won. I get a free lunch. It's so pathetic. But the small things, right? And she's Employee of the Month. I love it. We got one on the table. Ooh. Two on the table. Three on the table. Oh. Uh-oh. Four on the table. Let's do two more shuffles. Five on the table. I see the shadow under the card. I thought it was six. Last shuffle. All right, so we got six with bottom of the deck. We've got main female, change, sudden wealth, despair, message of concern, and bottom of the deck, official person. Feminine, masculine, take how it resonates. You could change this to main male. It doesn't matter. The official person can be a female or a male. It doesn't matter. To me in this reading, I'm not going to lie, the official person would possibly be more like a family member, a friend, okay? When these first three cards fell out, the main female, the change, and the sudden wealth. So let me just say this. This could be somebody coming into some type of wealth, right? So yes, inheritance, it could be an inheritance. It could be somebody winning like a raffle, winning a lottery, winning the lottery, some type of court case, right? That would be fabulous, right? Coming into money is good. Everybody, the world revolves around money, right? The despair, the message of concern, and the official person. So the first thing that I was getting, which would be my main message, which is that whenever you come into a large type of a sum of money, you should make a plan, a pro and con list, what you're going to do with the money, how you're going to spend it, how you're going to save it, whatever the case may be, right? Whatever works for you. But you should have some type of plan, okay? You should also, if possible, depending on how much the money is, how much money it is, possibly get an accountant, possibly hire an attorney, okay? It's just for your own protection. It might sound like a waste of money, but if we're talking big buku bucks here, it probably would just be better off for you in the long run, okay? It would protect you. The real message of concern here is and people say this all the time, right? We say this all the time. The real message of concern is somebody coming into money and not knowing how to handle it and then spending it all, wasting it all, giving it away, whatever the case. Because at the end of the day, what are you going to be left with? And I just think the message of concern is coming from somebody close, a friend, a close friend, a family member. It could be, like if it's a court case and you win money from a court case, it could be not even necessarily a message of concern, but it could be like an attorney or a representative of the court, insurance company, whatever the case, coming forward and saying, hey, where do you want us to send this money? Blah, blah, blah. And by the way, like, people sometimes put in their 2 cents when it's not warranted, right? To me, it's more like a message of like a family member or a friend coming to you and saying, hey, you came into this $200,000. What are you going to do with it? Because let me make a little suggestion. And it's not a suggestion like to give them money or anything like that. It's a suggestion on how to protect yourself, on how to protect that money, how to make that money last, that kind of thing. Because again, and we hear about it. We hear about it all the time. Like people win the lotto and they win like $100 million and they get like 60 million after taxes. And within 5 years, it's gone. And you literally are like, how did you spend $60 million in 5 years? But the thing is people will. People will. I know one particular person from my family that would probably have no problem spending $60 million in 5 years. And I'm not even kidding. And I know you guys think like, oh, like it's not even possible, blah, blah, blah. Literally look up lottery winners that have lost all their money, that spent all their money. And a lot of times it goes to scams. Like a lot of times people just get scammed out of their money. Again, could be through lawyers, could be through accountants, but it also has to do, you hear all the time about, pardon me, about people coming forward and saying, hey, I'm your long lost cousin. You got 20 grand for me? I don't know you. I have no idea if you're my cousin or not. Shoo fly, shoo. But people will give them money. Even if they know, oh, you're not my cousin, but let me give you $10,000 anyway because I feel bad. No. And I know, like some people might be like, well, that's kind of mean, Kim. That's kind of rude. Listen, there is a time for community involvement, community service, community donation. Okay. I would suggest highly going through the proper channels to make monetary donations to organizations, to the community, things like that. Instead of just somebody coming to your door and being like, hey, I work for the county. Can you give us $1 million? And you write them a check for $1 million. And it turns out to be your neighbor 3 blocks over. I mean, do you know what I'm saying? Like people come into money and do really, really dumb things and really don't think. And I've said this before, as I get older and older, and I think about, like winning the lotto or coming into an inheritance, which I don't really have anything to come into, but what would I do with that money? And I think I've said this before. I would pay off my condo and more than likely just live here and probably keep my job for the most part. I would try. I mean, it depends on how much money I would get too, but at the same time, like, I would donate. I would give money to my favorite organizations, a hell of a lot more than I'm able to give them now. I would give them money. I would also probably invest some of the money so that I have like a turnover every year. So I make money every year. I would also probably cash out some of the money and hide some of the money in cash. I'm just saying. Not like not like $1 million in cash, hidden in my car, not like that. But, some dollars hidden in the mattress, but just in case. But yeah, I would pay off my condo first. My car is already paid off. That was an inheritance gift, actually. Um, and like I said, I would probably keep my job. So, like, I would just invest it, and whatever I can donate, either lump sums every year or every month, however I figure that out. I'm just saying. And I got to be honest, there's literally only three people in this world that I would help monetary wise, and that would be my dad, my brother, and my one friend. And that's it. Everybody else is on their own. Figure it out. And it's not being mean, like, your destiny is your destiny. Your fate is your fate. You know, you got to ask yourself, why are specific people not thriving in their lives? Why are they stagnant? Why are they still where they are? Why are they not moving? And yet I come into this money. What does that mean? And you hear more often now about like celebrities telling their children, no, I'm not giving you money. Like, you need to go out and make your own way in the world. More and more people are telling their kids that. Like, no, 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 no. Just because I'm a billionaire doesn't mean you get to live off my money. Go to school, get a job, start a business, make your own money. And I'm I'm of the opinion that that's actually a good thing. When I was younger, I was taught to work really hard. I was taught to work for $1. I wasn't taught to sit on my ass and wait for somebody to take care of me. I wasn't taught that. And I'm grateful and thankful for what I was taught, because I appreciate money more. I appreciate what money can do for me because I'm the one that makes it. Therefore, I get to use it. You know what I'm saying? I don't think there's anything wrong with coming into like an inheritance or a winnings of some kind and just saying, you know what, I'm sorry. Like, I'm not giving money to every person I know. It's not happening. You know, grow up. Grow up. The flip side of this reading, okay, which I'm not going to spend too much time on, because I really think what I was just talking about was more of what this is meant for someone. But the flip side of this could be someone losing sudden wealth, okay, with the despair, the message of concern, the official person. This would be like, let's say I'm a millionaire, okay, and I got up as high as like $20 million, right? That was my worth. For whatever reason, like, I just spend money like it's water, that's just who I am. I get a call from my banker, my accountant, saying, "Hey, you might want to tone it down because you only got like 100 grand left, and you're gonna live another 40 years, and you invested some, but not a lot. So you might want to you might want to tone it down a bit." And somebody realizing, like, oh shit, I'm one of those people that in 5 years I lost all my money. I'm not really getting that so much as I was getting what I described before, which is somebody actually coming into money. Okay. Is it possible for somebody to lose their money? Of course. I'm sure it happens every day. I'm sure people become millionaires every day, and every day a millionaire is downgraded to a thousandaire. Like, I'm sure. I'm sure it happens more often than you think it happens. Pardon me. Somebody might get really nervous too when they find out they've come into money. Somebody's like, because my one hand was like shaking, which is, you know, you're watching TV and you read your lotto ticket and you realize, oh my God, I just won $10 million. I mean, I probably would be shaken too. I'd probably piss my pants. I'm not going to lie. Something about a Saint Bernard. I don't know why I was seeing like a Saint Bernard. If you don't know what a Saint Bernard is, you can Google it. A Saint Bernard is, I believe, the dog from the movie Beethoven. If you ever watched the movie Beethoven, it's from the 90s. I think the early 90s, late 80s, early 90s when the first movie came out. But the dog, the main character, I believe was a Saint Bernard. And somebody's gonna, so here, this is kind of like one last thing before I let this go. Somebody's gonna want to like run out and buy a house and buy new cars or whatever, like right away. um you know, you can take this reading as a warning or not, it doesn't matter. People are going to do what they're going to do, but I'm also going to make this suggestion too. I said should make a pro con list, you should make a plan for what you're going to do with your money. What you should really think about doing, especially if you come into the money in the millions, like you come into a really substantial amount of money in the millions. And I've heard this multiple times. I think my brother told me about it once even. And most accountants and lawyers recommend that if you come into a substantial amount of money, you take that money and you put it into an institution. So you can put it into a bank, you can throw it into an investment fund, however, or both, right? However you want to do that. But it is highly recommended that you literally sit on that money for a year and don't do anything with it. So like, and just an example, let's say I win $10 million after taxes. The suggestion is I take that money and put it in a bank or put it into investments and let it sit there for a year. I keep my job, I keep paying my bills like normal, I keep living my life like normal. And after a year, deciding, you give yourself enough time to figure out, okay, what am I doing with this money? Meanwhile, your money has been earning more money because you haven't touched it. So now my $10 million has maybe gone to 12 million or 15 million. Okay. It's definitely something to think about. And even if you don't come into millions, even if you come into like 10 grand, 20 grand, 50 grand, 100 grand, it, it would behoove you to still think in those terms. Take it, put it away, set it aside, live your life, figure out what you want to do with it, and go back in a year and, okay, now I have even more money. Let's do this, I'm just saying. I'm going to leave it there. I hope it resonates. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope, if anything, you were entertained. I hope you all had a lovely Wednesday. Have a lovely Wednesday evening. And I will talk to you later.